having some technical difficulties. Thought that was my cat. Hopefully everyone is good. Gonna check and see if the stream is going up. Gonna turn down the light so I'm not so bright. Whoa, whoa, whoa. How's everything doing for everybody? Am I streaming? Checking the live stream. That's my face. Am I getting audio? Yes, I am. There we going to mute you. Or mute myself, I mean. Talking to myself. How is everyone doing this evening? Alright, let me make sure. Let me get this. There we are. How's that? Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing good. And hopefully I'm stealing people from Steve, who keeps running his live stream super long. I saw Corey was trying to cross the streams there. Hello, everybody. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Stavin. Hello, WC Mel. Hello, Cappuccino Crafts. Hello, Just Carowin. Hello, Space Pirate Captain Rush, Savory Lemon, Corey, and Stewart, Wellington, Don. How is everybody? You're all wonderful. How is everyone going? Also, Food Coma, are you okay? I just did that because I thought it was just... I'm terrible at naming these live streams. And Stuart. So, is there a lot of lag? Oh yeah, looks like my live stream is maybe it's because I have a bunch of stuff up. Let me see if I close some stuff out that might help the stream. I'm just gonna close a couple things that I have open here. So maybe that'll help the lag a little bit on the live stream. Sorry, it might get weird for a second here because I'm closing a few programs. So if there's a little bit of lag still, and it gets worse for a hot second, I apologize. It will get better in just a moment. Once I was editing some projects for work right before this, so I still had that open, which might be contributing to some slowdown. All right, let's see, and let me pull up the chat again. Sorry, everybody. There we go. All right, there we are. Let's see. Also, apologies, my next door neighbor's playing something really loudly. I don't know what, it sounds like he's watching the news or something, but if you get a little bit of background noise, that's what that is. It's my neighbor. Let's see. Live at the Love Shack, drinking from there to here. What are we doing about Enterprise? What's going on here? Oh, they're lighting the Rockefeller Christmas tree. I didn't see that. No, I didn't notice that. Let's see. Oh, I see KT Dunn. What is Corey saying now? Oh, KT Dunn, of course you didn't escape. I gotta say your name now. You're a meme of the channel now, essentially, KT Dunn. I'm gonna be saying your name all the time. KT Dunn, KT Dunn, KT Dunn. I will definitely overcorrect as Corey says. So what does everyone want to talk about today? By the way, I want to ask everybody, what does everyone think of the lighting setup? I'm trying to play with some new stuff. I got a new lamp, put in a purple light in there, trying out a new little lighting setup. I need to get a slightly better camera setup. I have I have a thing that can hook my good camera up to this, but it's a bit weird to like set up with this stage. So yeah, so I still have, I'm just curious what people think of this basic setup. I'm going to be over the next few weeks trying to improve it, add some stuff, change up the background. I got some posters and stuff I want to put up, so I'd love to see, I would love to hear people's thoughts on all that, so. Yay, everyone likes the lights, I'm glad. I am very, very glad. Miss Wicked Wolfast, what did I do for Thanksgiving? Nothing. Worked. Unfortunately, I couldn't go see family, and I just, without getting into some specifics, I had a lot of work on my plate, both with, work, because I was, for those of you who didn't know, there was, the Museum of Pop Culture, this big Founders Award thing, that finally aired yesterday, so I was working on actually that a lot over Thanksgiving break, because it was this big event that they did with Alice in Chains and everything. If everyone likes Alice in Chains, the band, you can go watch it on their YouTube channel once we're done with this live stream. But it was this big event, had Alice in Chains and a bunch of other people like Metallica and stuff in it. So it was like a big video thing that they were doing that I was helping edit and shoot and things like that. So I was working on that on Thanksgiving. And then I also have a big Christmas project in the works that might involve a way overabundance of collaborations and cameos from a bunch of people across the Trek space. So that's a lot of work to produce and coordinate. So that was also probably a lot of my thought. So yeah. So sadly, Thanksgiving I didn't really do much. Just called my family, said, "Hey, happy Thanksgiving." So that's about it. So yeah, I could also do Christmas lighting. Let's see what else I could do if I did. Wait, what do people think? So that's red, and then if I make, no. They don't like the sickly green in my room. Come on, let's see. Come on, buddy. Why are you not? Oh, let's see here. There we go. Make that green. That doesn't really cut. They came out as blue though. That's weird. I don't know what it's green here. It's like very green, so I don't know what's blue on the screen here. But let's see if I change this. Maybe that'll change it. I don't like that as much. I like the blue and ooh. I actually don't hate this. Really? I don't know why that's coming across as it's like it's like Christmas green if I do that. Not that. This should all be Christmas green, but for some reason the camera's making it blue for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't hate this. So anyways, let's see. Oh, well, thank you so much, Mue. Excuse me if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for the super chat. Sending you love. Heart to you. Makeup tips for gender fluid guy. I am not the right person to be asking for makeup tips, to be very honest with you. I'm not even wearing makeup right now, but I do makeup as you see in my like main videos, but I have very like basic makeup. It's very basic. I just put on like very vibrant colors and stuff, but in terms of like doing anything extravagant, I am not that good at it. The funny story that I always tell about makeup is what was it? I learned how to do makeup from drag queens. So when I was first coming out as, I knew stage makeup because I was doing stage makeup ever since I was a little kid, doing like performances and stuff. But that's just like basic, like, oh, you get some foundation on and maybe pat some stuff so you don't like, sweat too much on stage, but you still look like readable. But when I was in college, after I came out as trans, I didn't have a bunch of like, I had a few queer friends, but my queer friends were at the time seen as women. And didn't have like a lot of like makeup experience. So the people that had the most makeup experience that I knew and were willing to teach me were drag queens, which are like, they go way over the top performative with it. So like there's pictures of like the first few times that I went out in makeup, and I'm like way overdone. It's like, it's too much. It's almost like way too much makeup. I'm like caked on and I'm like, I'm beautiful. I'm so pretty. And I was beautiful, but it was a bit much. So I've toned it down a little bit, but I really am not very great with makeup, so I apologize for all of that. So apologies that I don't really have much makeup tips for you, but thank you for the super chat, and I hope the story of me getting drag queened up was funny enough for you to make up for the fact that I have no real tips to give you. Like the ambient lighting council, geeks? Hey, Jesse. Nathan Allen says, hey, Jesse, first live stream. Been watching your channel for a few weeks now. It's cool seeing another trans person who's as big a geek as I am. Well, thank you. Well, first off, welcome to the live stream. Everyone give Nathan a hearty hello. Sending you a heart, Nathan. Welcome. I'm glad that you like the channel, and I'm glad that you're able to geek out with me and also be, a trans person who's geeking out. That's the goal. I mean, everyone's allowed here, not just trans people, but I'm more excited. I'm very excited that I am able to help you geek out with someone who identifies the same way you do. So that's super cool. So. Steve Ash says, hi, Jesse, old straight white guy from the UK still trying to learn, smiley face. Well, you're also welcome here too. That's the whole point. Like my goal at this channel is to allow everybody to join us on their learning journey, as long as you're respectful and kind and caring and trying to learn. Wherever you're at in your learning journey, you're welcome here, and I'm so glad to have you here. So thank you so much for joining, Steve. I'm sending you a heart as well. And yes, now everyone's saying hi to Vera. Yes, Vera, it's good to see you coming in and taking over my live streams. No, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Caden MacArthur asked, if you rewrote Ace Ventura, how would it end? Not transphobically. To be very honest with you, I haven't really watched that movie since I was a kid. specifically because that movie ends so transphobically. So I don't really remember the specific plot beats other than like the whole end of the film is based off of like basically assaulting a trans woman and revealing that she's trans to a bunch of people, and then everyone like reacting in disgust, which is awful and terrible. That movie ends just so transphobically in a way that I'm like, there's like some, not that any transphobia is really acceptable, but there's like some comedy movies where I'm like, all right, I can see how you get a not a pass, but I see how you didn't understand why this was problematic or like had an issue, or it was just like the way we talk about trans issues and understand trans issues is not the same as it was back then. So you can kind of like, okay, they didn't have as deep an understanding. It's like, it's still kind of awkward to watch now, but I get it. Ace Ventura, they should have known at the time that it was awful. Like it is honestly incredibly awful to watch. And the fact that it's played as comedy is just gross. So yeah, I really don't know how I would rewrite it other than just not do that at all. Because I need to like if I was like gonna try and rework the plot somehow, I would have to look at what the plot was, and I really don't remember it all that much. So, yup. I was a goth kid with bad eyeliner in my early 20s. Still want to do that now and actually work to make it look good. You should. Come on, punk rock. You should. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, you should wear more eyeliner. Do it, even if it's bad. I encourage this. Oh, this glorious clockwork. It's good to see you. You are a regular science dork, and I love you in the live chat. It's good to see you as well. Miss Wicked Wolf asks, Baby Yoda's real name is Grogu. What are your thoughts? I know in my video review of the episode, I kind of made fun of the name because I thought it was kind of dumb. I've since learned that it's like an actual reference to Kurosawa. I don't know the exact details of that, but I did know that it's a reference to Kurosawa, in which case that's super cool. It's still a weird name to say, like Grogu just does not roll off the tongue, but that's also possibly me being like a really out of touch white person. So apologies if that came across as offensive in my initial review. That wasn't the intention. It was me just making silly dumb jokes. But obviously if that did come across as offensive to anybody, I do apologize. But if it is a reference to Kurosawa, I think that's really cool. If anyone actually knows the answer to that, I would be excited to see it and learn more about that. So yeah. So I do want to apologize for that if anyone else found that offensive. I was just trying to make a dumb joke. I make the reviews right after watching it, so that's not to excuse it if I am offensive, but just so you know where I was coming from. So I do like Baby Yoda better, though. Like, even when they were calling the child and not Baby Yoda, I'm like, I understand why in canon you can't call him Baby Yoda, but Baby Yoda just sounds so much better. Like, so. What else does everyone want to talk about? Missed you too, this glorious clockwork. Tristan Norris says, hi, Jesse, popping in to say hi. I love you. Well, love you as well. Sending you love. That heart's for you. Oh, that's a cool shot. I like, ooh, look at that. Sorry, I'm getting now, like, look at that heart. That's a cool little shot. I like this. Whee! And actually, looking at this, I can probably beef up the brightness here. There we go. My partner calls him Baby Yodes. I like that. Why, wait, well, you know what? Maybe we're being too patriarchal here. Why Baby Yoda? Why not Baby Yaddle? Why has it got to be Baby Yoda? Why can't it be Baby Yaddle? You ever think about that? I also got a cough again. Apologies. God. So. Anyone read the character sheet reveal for Star Trek Prodigy and what they intend to do for some of the characters? I did not read that. I don't want to talk about it here. I probably will look it up later, but I don't want to talk about it here because I don't want to give spoilers to anybody. I don't want to necessarily be spoiled. I just know Janeway's going to be in it because they announced that, but that's about it. So. Ooh, which Legend of Korra character is your favorite? Good question. It's been a minute, so I'm trying to remember all their names. Why am I blanking on his name? The guy always goes June Lee in the show. I always love his character. He's always a fun character to watch. I will actually be honest. I think my favorite character might be Cora herself. Just because I have, like, if anyone's been watching this channel for a while, I have a thing for women who can beat me up. It's kind of like my, like, oh my. If you're a badass tough woman who can beat the crap out of me, I will at very least find you fascinating to watch, but also may have a thing for you if you're a character in fiction. So yeah. So I honestly, I really did like Cora. She was like gruff, but she was learning more about herself and coming to terms with herself. And so I really did like her. And I'm trying to think if there was anyone else that like particularly stands out in my memory. I mean, all the Airbender kids were wonderful too. I really enjoyed all of the Airbender kids. Were absolutely wonderful. So, yeah. I did not read the prequel novel, unfortunately. I haven't read that. Avatar is like the one franchise that I like watched all of, but I haven't really. Usually, when I get really invested in something, I usually try and pay attention to all the side material. So like Star Trek, Star Wars, all this stuff, I usually try and read a lot, or at least have like a vague awareness of the stuff that happens in the ancillary materials. But Avatar: The Last Airbender was one that I didn't really read much of the tie-in stuff. So sadly, no, I did not read the prequel novel. Unfortunately, Harry. The Nobulans came back. I would love if the Nobulans came back too. I mean, I wouldn't be against. I mean, number one, it's an Enterprise reference, so that would just make me very happy. But Discovery has been drawing upon both Enterprise and across Star Trek canon this season, so it wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we saw a Bajoran and a Cardassian too. Bajoran a few weeks ago. Hopefully my stream is staying good because I'm getting just notifications that it's going up and down. My internet may just be being weird tonight, so apologies if I apologize if my stream is wonky tonight. I might just be having a bad connection day, so sorry about all that. Because, yeah, I'm looking at my OBS here is telling me that the stream connection's, like, going up and down between good and bad. So, apologies on that front. Unfortunately, I haven't read Dr. Aphra comics. I actually don't know what that is, Flurkin's Galaxy, so I will check it out. Have you ever seen the lighting of the Rockefeller Christmas tree in person or on TV? I've definitely seen it on TV before. Never in person. I've seen the tree in person, but never the lighting. But I've been in New York around Christmas time, I think, once in my life. I was at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade about 10, 12 years ago, something like that. So I have seen the Thanksgiving Parade, but I have not seen the lighting of the Christmas tree. So... Just Carowin, I agree. I like women who look the type who bust out the butt kicking like Jenny Vastra's wife and who. Yes, I love Jenny. I mean, Jenny, by your description, this isn't me trying to insinuate anything about you, Just Carowin. But I feel like Jenny is me. Like, Jenny was very much into Vastra. Vastra is that, like, strong woman who will beat the crap out of you, who I very much love and very attracted to. Jenny is me, the person who's like, I will follow you anywhere, and hopefully will stand up for myself as well and kick your butt too. But Vastra is the person I'm like, I will follow you till the ends of the earth, or whatever planet we're on. So, yeah, Jenny and Vastra are amazing. So, yeah. Now that everyone's, see, this is the funny bit because I know I'm a few seconds behind. So I just said, everyone's kind of like saying Jenny is very attractive in the chat for a second here. I'm talking about that I'm Jenny, and now it's just awkward for me. People are asking, did I see the, two questions actually I see that are interesting. Did I see the DC Comics Swamp Thing? I did back when it was, not when it aired on CW. I watched it back when it was, like, first on DC Universe Online or whatever the hell that streaming service that's, I guess, now defunct, was. I liked it. I was surprised by how much I wasn't as excited about it as I would have hoped to be. I mean, my excitement was kind of killed knowing that it was canceled right after, I mean, I was very pumped for it because Swamp Thing is, one of my favorite comics, especially after, blanking, the guy who wrote Batman, as well. There was a recent run, like at the beginning of the New 52, When DC rebooted and did the New 52, there was a run of Swamp Thing comics by Scott Snyder, I believe it was. I believe it's Scott Snyder, which was fantastic. I love Scott Snyder's run on Swamp Thing. I thought he did a fan-frickin-tastic job. As well as the Animal Man comics that were running at that same time. Animal Man, the New 52 Animal Man run is also, and I would highly recommend it. But the Swamp Thing run is great. And so when I heard that James Wan, who's another director who I really love, and a horror director I really love, was going to be doing the show, or at least producing it, I was super pumped for it. But first, the cancellation kind of killed my excitement for it a little bit. And then I watched it, and I know a lot of people were very stoked on it and found it kind of interesting. I found it kind of boring, was my problem. I was just kind of bored for most of it. And I think part of it was just because a lot of it was like retreading Swamp Thing's origin story, which I had already read a whole bunch and things like that. It wasn't Grant Morrison. I know that, Harry. It was definitely not Grant Morrison's run. I believe it was Scott Snyder or something like that. But and Alan Moore's original run on Swamp Thing is also phenomenal as well. I would highly recommend that to you as well. But that's just without saying if you're talking about Swamp Thing, really. But yeah, I just found the show kind of dull. Was my thing. And again, I think it might just be because they were redoing the origin story. It wasn't bad by any means. It wasn't like Titans, which I think was a hot mess, both season 1 and then it was a little bit better in season 2, but still a hot mess in season 2. So it wasn't like Titans territory. But it definitely wasn't up to like Doom Patrol territory either, which Doom Patrol is like A-tier DC comic show for me. In fact, it might be like the best. I'd have to sit and think about it, but Doom Patrol might be the best DC Comics live action show out there right now. Maybe Supergirl might beat it, but I think Supergirl has a lot more bad episodes than Doom Patrol has bad episodes, just because Supergirl just has more episodes to be playing with. Yeah, I'd have to think on it. Let's see. What else does people want to talk about? I'm just looking through the stream here. EEST9 says, the neurodivergent video made me cry in a happy way. Normally I only cry when I hear leaves on the wind from Avatar, excuse me. Very good content. I really felt accepted for once. Well, EEST9, thank you so much. I'm glad that video meant something to you and made you feel accepted. That was what I was hoping it would do, and let people see like an element of themselves that either they hadn't seen in Star Trek but had like subconsciously felt, or B, had always felt and understood where it came from if they saw that like, oh, I see myself as a neurodivergent person in this character in Star Trek, but hadn't seen that as discussed as it could or should have been in the larger discourse. So I really hope you're right. Counts of Geeks, you're right. Legends of Tomorrow is really great. I forgot about Legends of Tomorrow for some random reason, but Legends of Tomorrow is great. That's another really great DC comic show. So live action, I should say. If I'm talking animation, Young Justice and I still would say Doom Patrol is better than Legends of Tomorrow, but I'd have to think about it. But yeah, Young Justice and Harley Quinn, I think, are the best DC Comics shows out there right now, and those are the animated ones. I would probably put Young Justice and Harley Quinn, the animated series, above really anything live action DC's doing. Again, I'd have to sit and think about it, but. Yeah, season 1 of Supergirl is just but that's because it was on CBS, so I kind of give it a pass. CBS is kind of, I say as someone who watches Star Trek on CBS, but it was on like mainstream CBS, which was just like meh, like bland, you know. At least on All Access, they can go a little bit crazier, which is why I like Star Trek there. But if you watch any like live action CBS stuff, like primetime CBS stuff on the actual channel, I haven't watched anything on CBS, the actual channel itself, in ever. I used to watch CSI a lot when I was a kid, but now it's just like, hey, let's pump out a bunch of CSI shows. I don't even know if there's CSI shows. I don't even know what's playing on there anymore. So yeah, I really have stopped caring about CBS, the channel, not CBS All Access, which, to be fair, I don't really care about much on CBS All Access outside of Star Trek either. Twilight Zone's good. I'm excited for The Stand. And that's about it. Like, I am excited to see The Stand. I'm excited to see, and I have been enjoying Twilight Zone. I know it's not, like, the best thing in the world, but I thought the first and second season of the new Twilight Zone was actually pretty solid. So, I just straight up don't watch broadcast TV anymore. Yeah, I agree. It was actually weird because when I was during the beginning of this pandemic, I went and lived with my parents for a couple months, and they had live TV, and it was so weird because it's like, who watches this anymore? I definitely don't. I haven't had cable since college, and I shouldn't have even had it in college, to be honest with you. I think I only had it in college for there was like 1 or 2 TV shows that I really wanted to watch in college. So yeah, I haven't had broadcast TV in forever. Cameron Melty, I really hope you can delve more into the neurodiversity topic within media if you feel like it has more, but I really, really love that delve. For sure. I actually have, it was actually supposed to already come out. I actually have another video that I already shot, written, edited, and was going to put up. It was actually supposed to come out like a week or 2 ago. But it's just been pushed because there's been other stuff I want to talk about. Like I want to talk about Ready Player 2 and a couple other things that have come up that I thought were more pressing. But I do have another video that is about neurodiversity in Star Trek that hones in on Spock as a character. So I do have that video coming. It's in the pipeline. It might come out this month. We'll see. But it might also be... it might also come out in January, just depending on how things all work out. Because Because I'm writing a video on Rosario Dawson today to give you guys the tips. I'm debating whether I'm going to put this, depending on how long it takes me to write and shoot this Rosario Dawson video. This will go up either Friday or Monday. In which case, if it does go on Friday, I'll be pushing a video again. But I also feel like there's been a lot to talk about. Speaking on that, though, I do also want to say and draw attention to. Rosario Dawson's the one I want to talk to most because I already brought it up in another video, and so I feel I need to address it. But I also wish to say, especially in case I don't get a chance to address it in a video on its own, even though it deserves a video on its own, and I'll be addressing it next year as part of a larger video, but it deserves a video focusing on it itself. To those of you who are trans people in the UK, I do want to send my love and thoughts to you right now. Especially those of you, I don't know if any of you are, and don't tell me if you are because this can get me in trouble on YouTube, but if there so happens to be a transgender person under the age of 16 within hearing distance of this video, and I'm not speaking to you, but if there happens to be one, because again, the annoying YouTube laws, I stand in solidarity with you, and I'm so sorry that the recent news that came out about the recent lawsuit that sort of ended really badly for trans people in the UK, it sucks. So my thoughts go out to you. So there you are. Yeah. For those of you, I would say, if you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, I would recommend Laura Kate Dale is a wonderful transgender personality over on Twitter that I would recommend just going to check out. I believe they use she, her pronouns. Apologies if that's incorrect, but go check out her profile because she discusses what I'm talking about in a very lengthy and very well thought out thread that I also retweeted on my own Twitter thread, so you can also check out there if you can't find her. But yeah, it's just a crappy situation that just occurred in the UK that hopefully will get appealed, but it has very hard implications for anyone that is under 16 and transgender in the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom has long been a really terrible place. I guess to give like a brief thought, I guess I'll give a brief overview here because people are asking, and Council of Geeks, you're asking as well. Basically what happened is there was I believe a cisgender woman, I'm not sure if cisman, I believe a cisgender woman, who when she was younger, I believe a little bit under 16, she got hormone suppressing, like puberty blocking drugs. From the sort of main, she got puberty blocking drugs from the main like healthcare system within the United Kingdom. I think it's the NHS, the National Health System. But when she got older, she decided like, oh, I don't wish to transition at all. I don't wish to be to be transgender. I believe I'm a cisgender woman, so I'm gonna stay a cisgender woman. So she stopped the drugs. So she stopped the drugs, and that's what puberty blockers are for. Therefore, that exact specific situation, it's just so like you take the drugs, you stop your puberty for however long you need to be able to make the decision. It's why you don't transition right away, especially if you're young, because you need time to make that choice. So that's what the puberty blockers do. They just delay puberty long enough for you to make the decision of whether or not you want to transition or not, especially if you're younger. It prevents you from having to go through puberty, which is really terrible for a lot of transgender teens. Who are forced to go through puberty and undergo permanent changes that are directly against what they view their body as, and it can be really mentally harmful. So but the specific situation that you give puberty blockers for to avoid, which was she starts puberty blockers, realizes later that she didn't want to transition. I shouldn't say she didn't want to be transgender because it's not a choice. She learned that she was not transgender. And so decided to, jump off the puberty blockers and was medically fine. However, probably, I need to look at the specifics, but I would not be surprised if either at the behest of the TERF community in the United Kingdom, or she became a TERF for whatever reasons, because the TERF community in the United Kingdom is very, very large. I don't know this, but that's my supposition, but I would not be surprised given the predominance of the TERF ideology in the United Kingdom. She decided to go to court saying, you should never have given me these drugs in the first place, despite the fact that they worked exactly for what they were intended for her. And she said, I could not have consented at 16 years old to get this drug. And so, unfortunately, the whole long court case happened, and they basically ruled that yes, the government should not have the healthcare system should not have given you these drugs. And now we're also saying that no 16-year-old would be intelligent. I forget the exact wording, but essentially 16-year-olds are not educated enough or are cognizant enough to be able to make an informed decision on getting puberty blockers. So basically, no 16-year-olds and under can get puberty blockers. So any trans person under 16 years old will basically essentially be, it's not an official ban, but it amounts to as much as a ban. And so a lot of trans teens are now left without drugs. In fact, NHS has been calling people saying, if you are calling trans kids who are already on these drugs, telling them that they will no longer be able to get them, which is incredibly shitty. Sorry, excuse my language on a live stream, but that is incredibly shitty. So yeah, so that's where they're at right now, and it is currently being appealed. And I want to do a video on it so I can talk a little, because I'm just kind of generalizing here. And so I do want to talk about it more specifically. What will probably happen, just because my bandwidth is so limited at the moment, unfortunately, is I probably will not be able to give a full video on it at the moment. But I am planning to do a whole video on TERFs, as well as another video on access to healthcare for trans people next year, hopefully early next year, January, February, somewhere before March. So I will address it at the very least in there. And hopefully there'll be developments in the case in a positive direction by that point. But yeah, I will be doing a video on it either exclusively if I have the time, which I don't know if I will, but at the very least I'll be addressing it in a longer piece somewhere next year. So, and Reinhardt, thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Sending you love. There's that heart for you. And yeah, I'm literally right after this. I'm gonna be working on that Rosario Dawson video. So that's gonna hopefully go up either Friday or Monday, depending on how long it takes me to shoot, to write and shoot. So. Yeah, Vach, I'm sorry, excuse me if I say your name wrong. Vach Nithing, excuse me, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. You say, I really don't get detransitioners who do turn against the trans community. I mean, I get it to a degree. I did a whole video on it, so I don't want to delve into this topic too much, but detransitioning can be also very traumatic. I don't want to downplay that. Like, if you start transitioning and realize you don't want to transition and you detransition, that can be a very traumatic experience. Unfortunately, as we see with many things, such as TERFs themselves, trauma can unfortunately mean that you turn on the people or you lash out at people who do not deserve it. And that sucks. So I get it. It's disgusting and wrong and horrible. Especially in the case of TERFs. Because I this is an overgeneralization, but I do believe a lot of TERFs come from a place of having a lot of trauma, and that's where they're basing a lot of this pain out of, and they lash out at the trans community as a way to control that. So I get it. It doesn't make it right, but I get it to a degree, which sucks. So Newt, so on to happier topics. Mixed Week and Wolf. Newt is asked. Newt is actually in the other room. My door is actually closed, so he's actually in the other room. So he probably won't be joining us. I should have left the door open because he might have come in and joined us, but he is currently in the other room at the moment. I closed the door, so for better sound stuff. So Olivia Yeats, thank you so much for your super chat. Sending you a heart, my friend. That is for your super chat. Thank you so much, Olivia Yeats. How are the DC Star Trek comics from, I think, the 80s? I unearthed some from a huge DC stash my father accumulated when he illustrated for DC. Number one, your father illustrated for DC? That is insanely cool. That's so awesome, Olivia. That's got to be cool to have a dad who has like stashes like that. But in terms of the DC comics, I haven't read every single piece of that run. I've read a fair chunk of the Star Trek DC Comics run, and from what I saw, it's actually really a lot of fun. I believe the start of the run is this really fun story because they came out between those comics started coming out between Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4. So if you remember, at the end of Star Trek 3, they've rescued Spock and are on Vulcan, and they've put Spock's Katra back in him, but he's still like a young Spock. So that's where that movie ends. Now, Star Trek 4 picks up immediately after that. Like, the ship hasn't left Vulcan. They still have the Klingon Warbird with them, and they haven't left Vulcan yet, and then they come... So literally 3 leads right into 4. But the comics came out during the time where they did not know that... what 4 was going to be. So there's this weird moment where the comics, like, start from where 3 ends, and actually Kirk leaves Vulcan, gets the Enterprise, has whole adventures on the Enterprise. It's actually a really fun mirror universe story in there that's a lot of fun. So they have this whole other thing where Kirk gets a new Enterprise. It's all this whole thing. It's really fun. And then the comic writers learned, like, oh, Star Trek 4 is starting right where Star Trek 3 picked up, but we've done all this stuff. So then you have like 3 or 4 issues where it's just like them working their way back to trying to figure out so they can make it all make sense. So they bring them back to back to Vulcan and say, like, oh yeah, the ship, the Klingon ship's still there, and Kirk never got he got the Enterprise, but not really. Don't worry about it. It's a lot of fun. That's some of the weird stuff you get in beta canon when they have to fix stuff like that. It's so much fun. So yeah, I would very much recommend the DC Comics run for that alone. But if I recall, I remember there being some really good comic stories within there. Like the Mirror Universe one that I mentioned was actually a lot of fun. It's a good little follow up to Mirror. Obviously, that also is also not in line with canon with what we see in Deep Space Nine. But again, that's the fun of beta canon stuff. Geek Filter, thank you so much for the super chat. You are wonderful. By the way, everyone, give Aaron Harvey Geek Filter, but Aaron Harvey is Geek Filter. Give him some love. He has his own podcast, the Infinite Trek podcast. Check him out there. He also has a book that I have up there, and I'm too lazy to get right now. But Aaron Harvey wrote a book on Star Trek: The Animated Series, and I very much recommend it. It's one of my favorite books, Star Trek books, so I'd highly recommend it. So give Aaron Harvey Geek Filter some love. So and thank you for the super chat. And also, you put together a wonderful Treksgiving the other week too. I should mention that was so much fun. So, Hannah Ridley, Merry Xmas, and thanks for sending me an encouraging DM when I was starting my new job years ago. I still do it. Well, congratulations, Hannah. Sending you love. I am so glad that my messages were encouraging and helpful and got you going. And I'm so glad that your job is still going strong and doing well. I know that is not something a lot of us all have at the moment, so I'm so thankful that you're doing all right, and I'm so glad that I was able to be any small part of that. So thank you, and thank you for the super chat, I should say as well too. I'm sending you love. Robert Richmond says, thank you, Robert, for the super chat as well. Sending you love as well. How significant is the Elliot Page announcement? Well, actually, a few things. So first off, I am so happy for him. That is absolutely freaking amazing. Like, I have been a big fan of Elliot Page for years and years and years and years and years now. And so it's so wonderful to just know that he is able to come out and be his truer self and share his truer self with the world. And that he was, he is someone who is doing this on a huge stage. Punk rock zoologist, I will address I just wanted to let you know, I saw your super chat and thank you for it. And I will address it in a second. I just want to finish this thought about Elliot Page, because I think it's worth addressing. So I'm so happy for him. And I think that that's the thing that we should focus on, because I am going to talk a minute about why I think the Elliot Page announcement is so important, because it is. But the thing that we always need to keep clear is, like, the most important thing is that Elliot gets to live the life that he wants to live. And I hope that it makes him happier. And I hope that that it's just going to make his life more beautiful and wonderful. And that is that is the most important thing out of all of this. Yes, it's important for the trans community. But more importantly, it's important to Elliot. And so that's the important thing to remember. The two things that I want to mention about that in terms of its importance to the transgender community, and by it I mean the announcement, not it obviously is in Elliot Page, the person. That's not what I intend, but I want to make clear there. Is one, Elliot Page is a very, very, very well-known actor. Very well-known. And for him to come out as trans means that we now have a very prominent actor that so many people know who gets to be representative of the trans community in a way that we haven't really had before. I think the only person close to Elliot Page's level, if I recall, would be Laverne Cox or Caitlyn Jenner. And Caitlyn Jenner is not a great role model for the trans community. Nothing against her. Nothing. I have many issues with Caitlyn Jenner. Many issues. She definitely has, definitely a lot of issues there. Namely, being supportive of certain politicians. So not exactly a perfect role model. But so I'm glad that Elliot Page is finally going to be, and Laverne Cox is also absolutely wonderful. She is totally a wonderful role model, and I'm so sorry about what happened to her recently too. That was a horrific situation. I'm glad she's okay. The other thing too with Elliot Page is I'm so glad that there is now a trans masculine representation that there's been so many trans women, like I said, like Laverne Cox, like Caitlyn Jenner, despite my reservations with Caitlyn Jenner. So it's nice to see a trans man and trans men get representation now. So that is amazing too, to have a very visible and out trans man, because trans men unfortunately don't have as much representation as trans women, and trans women representation is still not all that great. Though I am happy we get people like Ian Alexander as well on Star Trek Discovery, who is also a trans. I believe Ian Alexander now identifies as non-binary, so I shouldn't say that. Though I think that's something that he came to recently, and I think he said he uses he/they pronouns. So, the final thing I will say on Elliot Page too, before I jump to the other super chats, because I don't want to miss those. I apologize for not paying attention to them. The other thing that I want to draw attention to that I found so cool is, while there were some exceptions, most of the articles that I saw announcing that Elliot Page came out as transgender from news articles all said Elliot Page comes out as trans. Gendering him correctly, saying his name correctly, not saying, the artist, like Elliot Page, the artist formerly known as blah, or, his dead name comes out as trans. It was Elliot Page comes out as trans. That was the predominant headline that I saw of those ilk, which is such a step up from previous ways that we've seen these type of announcements go. Like seeing like Caitlyn Jenner being a big example. A lot of people dead named her and misused the wrong pronouns for her after she came out, which is not how you do that. And I remember at the time it was like, oh, you're all being so woke scolds and we're not getting it right. But this shows the reaction to Elliot Page's coming out shows that by having those conversations when they happen, we can get better. So every time I see this, people's like, you gotta stop getting angry at us. It's like, no, we're having a conversation because the conversation needs to be happening so that the next time we do better. And we see that. We see all these journalists do better now with Elliot Page. So don't let anyone ever tell you that those conversations are not worth having. Yes, we shouldn't be toxic about it and hate on people. I talk about that in my social media stuff, but it's like never like insult or belittle or send abusive stuff to people. But those conversations need to be had, and never let anyone say that we shouldn't be having them, because we should. Because it means something and it makes people better, as is evidenced by this event. So I just want to say all that on Elliot Page. So that's what I want to say. I'm sorry I missed a lot of the chat, but I really wanted to talk about Elliot Page for a second there, because I don't necessarily want to make a whole video on Elliot Page, because it's like I really want the focus to be on Elliot Page's chance to live his own best life. And so if I make a video, it's like, here's how it's important to everybody else but Elliot. I don't really want to do that. It is important to everyone in the community to see a trans man of his level come out, as I just outlined. But the focus really should be he gets to live his best life, and that's amazing. So I don't really want to make a video on it, so I'm glad I get to address it a little bit in this live stream. Punk Rock Zoologist, heart to you. Thank you for the super chat. Speaking of podcasts, we have a great episode of the Vedic Assembly coming out tomorrow with a very special guest. I wonder who that could be. Who is the guest? For those of you who don't know, Punk Rock Zoologist is one of the hosts of the Vedic Assembly, a Deep Space Nine podcast, and we did an absolutely wonderful. I was on their most recent episode that's coming out tomorrow. That we talked about Dax, the Dax symbiote, not just Jadzia Dax, but Ezri Dax, Jadzia Dax, and all of the Daxes. And it was a really wonderful conversation. One of my favorites that I've had in a podcast outside of other present company like Infinite Trek as well. But it was a really wonderful conversation. And also, I'm on too many podcasts. I was trying to compliment the one podcast. Now I feel like a jerk because I'm like, oh, and now I just insulted all the other podcasts I'm on. It was a really great conversation. I shouldn't speak in such hyperbolic terms. It's a really great conversation on the Vedic Assembly. I really loved it. I am sure no one's going to be offended. But I think it was a really great podcast, and so I highly recommend checking it out. That'll be out tomorrow, according to Punk Rock Zoologist. So I will try and share that on my community tab. It'll be on my, if you're a Patreon of mine, I'll share the podcast link on my Patreon page. But also I will share it on my community tab as well. So Corey says, KT Dunn wants to send her love at Jesse Gender. Me too. There's been some discussion of Elliot Page news in the chat. That was a wonderful bit of news. Well, sending you love. Thank you for the super chat to both you and KT. Okay. Let's see. Marg and Newt's weekly allowance. I will make sure to spend that money on Newt. Thank you so much, Marg. I hope you're well, and thank you for the super chat. And Newt, thanks you too, sending you a heart. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Harry Garrison, speaking of social media, did you see Low Reloaded making an ass of himself the last couple days defending Trek Lad Trekker Prize? I want to be careful on this subject. I have many thoughts on that situation. Let's just say I'm gonna put it this way. How best to say this? For those of you who don't know, there was a lot of Twitter drama in the Trek community involving Trek Lad and Trekker Prize. And Laura Loaded commented on it quite a bit. And I don't know Trekker Prize all that well, but I was on his podcast. And I've also been on Trek Lad's podcast that hasn't been released yet. We filmed that months and months ago. And I appear on Low Reloaded's channel quite a bit. I want to be delicate with this because I don't want to say anything untoward, because I do know these people and I'm in the same circles. I have many strong opinions on a lot of what happened, especially Trekker Prize's stuff. I was very much not happy with that whole situation. But as a white person, it's probably not best for me to speak on that. But I would just say in terms of Trekker Prize's case and Trek Lad's case as well, I would say listen to people from communities of color, especially black people, the black community on those topics. I would very much recommend, if you're interested, you should be listening to them, not me. On that, in terms of Lore Reloaded, I have not seen much. Knowing him, he is probably instigating stuff. That's just what he does. Not to dismiss it at all. But it's a rough situation. Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I will say this too, that I am aware of it, and in so much as I am involved with them, I have been talking to them behind the scenes and trying to hopefully push them to listen to people that need to be listened to, specifically Black voices and voices of the people of color community. So from what I can, that's what I'm trying to do. But I would just encourage anyone in those situations who is aware of those situations, wants to learn more, listen to the Black community on those issues. And that's about all I will say on that. But I just because I don't really want to address that on the live stream. Yeah, so that's all I'll say on it at the moment. But I did at least want to say it. All right. Hey, Trek on the Tube, it's good to see you. I didn't see you come in. How are you doing, Trek on the Tube? Hope you're doing well, Trek. Speaking of which, Trek on the Tube is another great YouTuber, if those of you who don't know. If you want other reviews and other really great content, please check out Trek on the Tube. He is absolutely wonderful. So. Just quick, just checking something because my stream's popping up something real quick. Just apologies, everybody. Cool. Hey, Trek Yards. Hi, Trek Yards. It's good to see you. I did not know that you even knew that I existed. Good to see you, Trek Yards. And hey, just another broke nerd. How are you? Wow, a lot of people popping in. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Albert Pedro Trias, thank you so much for the super chat. Sending you a heart. Hi, Jesse. Hey, Jesse. I'm a fan of the Terminator series and wonder if you are too. P.S. Still salty that Sarah Connor Chronicles got canceled. Curse you, Fox. 100% agree. I am actually... Okay. I have... Oh, my gosh. You just touched upon a thing I didn't even realize I was excited to talk about until you said it. I am actually a huge fan of the Terminator franchise for many reasons. Many of you know I love hot messes. I am someone who... Man, this stream is like really laggy. I apologize, everybody, if you're even hearing anything that I have to say. You might just be like in the chat and not even like knowing what I'm saying anymore. But let's see. What was I saying? Terminator. Yeah. So Terminator 1, Terminator 2, fantastic movies. Some of the best science fiction movies of all time. I'm giving you my brief overview thoughts. I can get into the specifics of these movies later, but those two are great. Sarah Connor Chronicles is so underrated, absolutely amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. It has some ups and downs throughout it, but generally it is a freaking great show. Should not have been canceled. If you are a Terminator fan, at the very least, watch Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles. But because that show is so good, so good, and the way it ends just frustrates me so hard. The rest of the stuff with Terminator, I also love. I have loved every single Terminator movie because they are all such hot messes. They are just such hot messes of movies. And I love, you know me, I love hot messes. I will take the messiest of messy movie over like a solid okay movie. Like if your movie's like checks all the boxes, does everything right, but doesn't do anything interesting, I like it less than something that is totally messy, totally awful. In terms of like structure and plot development, but it's just fascinating to watch. It's kind of why I like Batman v Superman. Like I enjoy Batman v Superman because it's terrible. It's the absolute wrong decision for every single one of those characters in that movie, and absolutely the worst way you could have done that movie. But I can't. It's like watching a car wreck. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't look away. I hope no one's hurt. And as long as no one's hurt, I don't feel bad about watching this car wreck happen. Because it's just fascinating. That's my sort of feelings on it. As long as no one's like actually hurt in terms of like their lives, I am so fascinated by messes. So yeah, Terminator's like that one franchise that Hollywood will not let die. They are like, you know what? Let's do another one. And you know what? I am here for it. I am so here for it. Keep bringing it back. Keep it bringing terrible ideas over and over again. I want a Terminator like 7, 8, 9, 10. I have zero expectations for that franchise. I don't need it to be good. I just want to watch. I just want to watch it. Just keep going and keep burning down into the ground. Just do it. It's so fascinating. I will say also on that note too, though, I actually did like Terminator Dark Fate. I didn't hate it. People thought it was awful. I thought Terminator Dark Fate was fine. I went to the theater to see it and I came out, I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. I like that it was basically like, you know, it was like a generally fine Terminator story, but it centered women. I thought I forget the actress's name, but the actress who played the like main like beat 'em up like woman character, which as we talked about before in the stream are people that I have any woman that can beat the crap out of me is I have problems when I watch those types of characters, so I loved her in Dark Fate. So yeah, I thought Dark Fate was a really great movie. Yeah. I also missed a super chat. Lorenz Winterhoff, excuse me if I said your Winterhoff. I apologize if I said your name wrong, but Lorenz Winterhoff, thank you so much for the super chat, and I'm sending you love. That heart is specifically for you, sending you all the love. So. Reinhardt68, thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. You mentioned Sarah Connor Chronicles. That gets you another super chat. Well, sending you love. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I will say about Trek Yards, I agree with you. I will say with Dark Fate, like the one thing I will say about Dark Fate is I was disappointed that they didn't do more with their opening twist. Not just if you haven't seen Dark Fate, I'm not going to say what the twist is, but there is something that happens in like the first 2 minutes of that movie, and that thing that happens in the first 2 minutes of that movie is like everyone was so upset about that. They were like, oh, I hate that that they did that thing. And for me, when I was watching the movie, like, oh, that is the most interesting thing they could have done. And like I was fascinated. I was like, all right, I'm in. And then the rest of the movie like plays out fairly fine. There's still some interesting stuff in there enough for me to be like engaged with it and not just feel like it's a complete retread. But I almost just wish they had doubled down on that opening sequence and just kept doing more and leaned into that more. So yeah, I know that's what like pissed off the fans, but I actually think that opening decision was great. I actually sometimes enjoy Terminator Genisys more just because that movie is a hot mess. Terminator Genisys is, whoo! I don't even know how that was. I don't even know how someone looked at that as a script and said this is coherent, let alone something we should actually make a budget for. So, but I love it. I love that it exists. I've only seen the first Terminator. How much do you hate me, Jess? I am upset to wreck on the tube, but like, see the second Terminator at the very least. That's the best one. You should also watch Terminator. I mean, if you watch anything, watch Terminator, Terminator 2, and Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. After that, I totally understand if you stop. I personally enjoy them, but I also understand if you stop. But at the very least, Trek on the Tube, you should watch Terminator 2. Come on. That movie is great. That movie is one of the best action movies, period. Full stop. And I highly recommend it. So at the very least, watch Terminator 2. And if you have the time, give Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles a strong watch as well, though know that it ends kind of on a cliffhanger, which sucks. But what are you going to do? I'm also going to be wrapping up the chat in a little bit because I got to actually work stuff to do right after this. It's only a quick thing, but I do have a quick work thing to do. So I'm going to have to wrap up fairly quickly. But I'm not going to go away just yet. I want to see if there's anyone that is out there that wants to talk about anything. Any last thoughts? Any last little pieces that people want to talk about before I sign off for the evening? Yeah, the Buckle Up Buckaroo thing with Caitlyn Jenner. That's a South Park thing, and I have many thoughts on South Park and transgender representation. I have many thoughts on South Park in general. Some okay, but generally, especially recently, not all that much positive to say about South Park. Did love it when I was a kid. So. Actually, I'm getting dinged about I'm just getting dinged from work, so I'm going to have to head out in a second. Let's see. What was the most welcoming community for you? For me, it was the Chaos Club, computer club. There had been first contact with trans people and discovered that I'm queer and neurodiverse. I mean, when I was a kid, I wasn't out in any way, but the most when I was in high school and middle school, I was a band geek and theater geek, but I was actually more of a band geek than a theater geek, surprisingly enough, even though I feel like I probably had more of an affinity, especially in my adult life, for theater than I do for band. But I was much more of a band geek in high school, so. I totally understand Trek on the Tube. The first one's rough. I mean, the first one's a small budget film. So I still like the first one, but it definitely is not as strong. The second one, they gave it a full budget, and James Cameron like really seized the chance to really do something really cool with it. So I would very much recommend much recommend T2. I think it's better than T1. It's one of those rare ones where the sequel is better than the original. So I played the trumpet, in case people were wondering there. So I played the Z trumpet, which I still have in the closet in my room, so the other room. So I still have it, but I haven't played it in years. I'm sure the keys are all stuck, but I do still have the trumpet. So I think on that note, I am going to be signing off. Don't forget, tonight I have my review. I'm going to be watching the episode. It goes up in 5 hours or so. So I'm going to be watching the latest episode of Discovery in just a little bit, and my review will be going up later tonight, so keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to check out the Vedic Assembly. I had a really wonderful conversation with everyone over there in Punk Rock Zoologist who is part of this chat. Deserves all the love. So I very much recommend going to check out the Vedic Assembly podcast that comes out tomorrow. What else? Ooh, I'll tease this. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but I think I just nabbed someone big for an interview over the next few days. So it hasn't been confirmed, so I can't say anything specifically yet. But I'm very excited because I might have something really cool coming in the next couple days for all of you. So I'm very pumped for that. So I'll play the tease on that, and hopefully it'll all work out. And if it doesn't, I'll let you know what it was either way. So you'll know either way, but I'm pretty sure everything's all set to be confirmed, so that should be pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to promote and tease. So love to everybody. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. You gotta do the YouTube prayer. Thank you, Savory Lemon, for your super chat. I really appreciate that. Sending you love. And I have got to run because now I'm getting a bunch of pings from work. So you are all wonderful. Love you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and be safe and be healthy as possible.